Hi there, it's Therese from Lostinpaper, and I'm really excited to be partnering with Cricut. They sent me a maker and I have had a blast making today's cards. I have 3 different kinds of cards to share with you today, but they are all floral. I decided to do a bit of a floral focus, but I've used a few different techniques in each of the cards. I've got a dimensional card and one that does multiple cuts, as well as a stencil. So lots to share with you today, so we'd better get started. So this is the Cricut design space and it's really easy to use. I've logged in as me and opened a new canvas, and that way I can keep everything for this project in one place, and I can also share it with the community as well. And I decided to make a floral card. Now this one's not for the faint-hearted because there is lots of dimension in this card, and I'll also have some more projects after this to share with you. To find a flower or an image, go down to images here and it will open up with everything. You can either just browse, it would take you forever, but you can actually just browse in images itself, or come up the top here where it says all images and you can go to categories. The other thing you can do is just type in a keyword or words and see what comes up. And then you can also narrow down your search on the left hand side here by either the project types, so you can either click on project type and be inspired, or use another one that's already ready to go. You can also click on operation type. So what that means is you can make it a cut only file, or something with a draw, or a print and cut, or a cut and draw. There's so many different options, but I just want a cut only file. Now I do know which images I've already chosen for my project, but you can choose whichever ones suit you. You can also search for your image by the actual number. So say you know that the number of your E13, whoops, I forgot my hashtag. So to choose the image, left click on the actual image and then it'll come up down the bottom here. You can remove it. See how it comes up with a cross? You can remove it by clicking on that as well. And then to insert your image into the canvas, just left click onto the green button at the bottom and it'll be there with all the pieces marked out at the side. You can group and ungroup these, the icons at the top. So if you wanted to change, say, one portion of it, if you want the leaves bigger, simply ungroup it and you can change it. I like to keep them all grouped together, that way if I do alter the size of it, they stay in proportion. If you're not sure what size the flower is going to be, what you can do is actually click over here on one section and it will actually tell you how big the flower is and how big the leaf will be. It's awesome. Alright, I'll move that out of the road because I want a couple more flowers. Let's go searching. Okay, so I've got my leaves here. I want to make them all the same colour so that they cut at the same time. So I'll click on Colour Sync up here and just drag my leaves all into the same colour. It's really easy to use. Ungroup. Now I don't want that, so I'll hide that. I don't want these green leaves either, so I'll hide those. Oops. And then I can regroup them. Am I? And I might just change that leaf over here to colour sync it. just to make life a little bit easier. And my leaf sizes are a little bit big at the moment, so I need to downsize those to fit on a card front as well. And we'll start cutting. And we do that by going over here to the Make It. Let's click on the Make It section. And these are all my mats that I'm going to need in the colors that I want. So basically it's telling me that my basic cut for mat 1, so my poppy flowers, the petals for that, that's the color I need to load first. So I'll just get my mat ready by hitting continue. And I've got my favorites here for my materials, and I'm using a heavyweight cardstock. And if I want to add a bit of pressure, if it's quite a heavy cardstock, I can click on more and add more. It's telling me to load the tools. So in the B clamp here, I need to use the fine point blade. Okay, so my mat goes in underneath these little tabs here, and just push it up against the rollers and load the mat by pushing the arrow button. And then when I'm ready, I can just push the Cricut sign here to cut. And when it's finished, it'll be flashing, and that'll, by pressing that arrow, it will unload the mat. And I can see that it's cut there. I'll just pop my cardstock away from the mat. I use the standard mat because this is a heavyweight cardstock. And there are my 2 little poppy petals. How cool are they? So once I've done my first cut, it'll automatically take me to the next, and I'll continue until all my cuts are done. So what I want to do now is create an A2 card front. So to do that, I'm going to go down to Shapes, left click, open up a square, and I actually want a rectangle here. And to do that, I can just unlock the proportions by clicking on the lock key and typing in (13.9) by 10.8, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So what I want to do here is cut out a panel for the front of my card, and first I want to add a geometric pattern as well as a sentiment. That's like a border image that I'm wanting to put onto my card front. Now the size, actually that's not too bad. I will make it a little bit bigger. And speaking of drawing, I need to draw some text in. I'm not going to cut some text. I'm going to add happy. Okay, so the second portion of text, and I want to add this in a different font. That's why I've done them separately. And I want it to be the word birthday. And I will move that down here so we can see that as well. Now to change the font, I can come up to the font section here, left click on it. Now we've got lots of choices here. It will automatically give you all the fonts that are in your system at home, but if you've got access to the Cricut fonts, there's heaps of wonderful fonts in there too. So I'm going to use the Cricut font so that I can share this with you in the community. Okay, when you've got a script like this one that has all these little gaps, you can actually bring it all together. So you can Just use your left arrow key on your keyboard. I keep it in capitals though, and I do want it to be written again. So this time, yay, what have I found? Everyday fonts. That'll work. So to set your pen, come up to the pen operation on that black square, left click, and then you can choose which kind of pen you've got, and each pen is easily labelled in the Cricut. I've got a G, which is a gel pen, and it's a 1.0, and the colour is black. So that's the pen again in black. Let's make it. So this is going to draw and cut, and I can tell that because it's telling me that I need a pen, and it's also going to do a basic cut. So click on continue. Yes, I'm happy with that. I'm going to choose the cardstock yet again. I'm going to be using some heavy cardstock, and I'll add more pressure. I'm going to start by loading my black gel pen. Okay, so it's told me that I've got to insert my pen into clamp A. So this is A, it's written on the front. Just undo the latch. There's an arrow on my pen. I can check that I've got the correct pen. It's the gel pen 1, and it's got a G on the end of it, which tells me it's a gel pen. And there's an arrow that goes facing towards me, and it clicks in, and then I just need to close that clamp over. Then I can load my mat as usual. Under the lugs, touching the wheels, press the load button, and then press the create. So now we're going to assemble our card. We've done lots of prep work, and here's the fun bit, putting it all together. So I've got all my die cut images here. I've got my 3 flowers. It's the Gerber daisy, the peony, and also the poppy. I've done a variety of leaves here because I wasn't really sure what I was going to use. And I wanted to add some extra shading, and what I did was used a blending brush and some ink that was of a similar but darker colour to the cardstock that I'd cut out. But you could also use chalks here, or any other mediums, pencils, anything that you have. You don't even need to do this extra step if you didn't want to. I just thought it added a bit of extra depth to my flowers. I've used some glue dots here to layer these all together because I find they're a really nice strong hold, and I don't have to wait for drying time. I like also to use liquid glue or a really strong tape sometimes, but whatever your preference is, do that. I just found it really quick and easy to use the glue dots. I just wanted to show you here on the peony how the back of these petals work. They're a little bit different. So what I've done is I've got some very small glue dots, and I've got them on each side of the back of the petal. You'll see there's little tabs. Now basically what those tabs do is you bend them back on the back of the petal, and that just helps give these petals more dimension. It is a little bit fiddly, especially because I have cut my images so small, but that's because I want them to fit on a card front, and they're still going to be famously dimensional for a card at any point. And with this peony, I just layered it all up together, and when I do my layering with the petals, I kind of oppose them so they're not sort of all laying on top of each other and they look like they're all three-dimensional. So the poppy was easy to put together. There's only 2 layers, and also the center, I just rolled the center and added a bit of liquid glue here because I knew I'd needed that to have a really strong hold, especially because these are it's such a large stamen. And I did also pop this A2 panel that I cut on the Cricut and did my sentiment and my geometric frame. I added that to a A2 card front, as well as added some shading to the leaves, and then it was just a matter of assembling my bouquet on my card. Now this is a very dimensional card, so I probably will make a coordinating gift box for it, or actually give it as a hand gifted card so I don't have to try and post it. And I do love these colours together. They really make me happy, and I wanted to actually share a couple more ideas with you. So starting with some multiple die cutting tips in Design Space. Alright, so we're back in the Cricut Design Space. We're going to start on our second card now, and this one's not going to be quite so dimensional, so it will be a bit easier to post. I have got a new canvas open, and I'm going to go into my shapes and create my like my A2 card front. So I want this to actually be a little bit smaller than my card front, but I want it to keep the same proportions. So to do that, I'll just click on this lock proportions again, and then I can just alter the width, and that will, whoops, I didn't save it. So say I have 10 centimeters. What that does is it keeps the proportions, and it will alter the size, and that will mean that will fit on my A2 card perfectly with a small border around the edge. The other thing I want to do is add a shape, and I want to die cut a heart shape out of the center here. To make it cut exactly what I want, just highlight both of the images and then come over to the bottom right of the screen and click on attach. You can always unattach it, but that's going to make 2 cuts now. So I've chosen the plum blossom. I'm going to insert that into my canvas. Actually, I'll just move this one out of the road for a minute. You can see here that this plum blossom has lots of different layers, and I can see all those listed in the layers on the right hand panel. I don't want to use all of those. I mean, I could if I wanted to, but I just want a couple of these layers, so I'll ungroup them, and then I'll hide the bits that I don't want. So I only want to use these 2 pieces here. I can just highlight both of the images and then drag the right hand corner arrow in and resize them both together. So I want to make multiples of these flowers, and I'll do that by highlighting my images, and then can come over to the duplicate button over on the right and right click on that, and that's just going to create exactly what I've highlighted. To make it quicker, I can actually highlight all 4 and duplicate that again. You see where I'm going with this. The other way that you can do it is copy it. So I can go up to edit here, click on edit, copy, click on edit, and then paste. And that does exactly the same thing, but this is just a really simple way of doing it. And I'll attach all these just to make it easier for me to cut them out. I've got this feeling that I want to do another heart for my sentiment, but I'll actually write on it if I did that and popped it up in the center. Right, so let's attach And I've got one more quick way to show you how to create multiples. I'll just go to Make It, and then you can actually increase your project copies to however many you want. Hit Apply, and if you're wanting to cut on a different section of your mat, you can simply move your images around. That way you're not losing the adhesive only in that top corner every time. Alright, let's get making. I don't want 2 copies. I just want one. So this card was really fun to assemble. I did actually come in and cut a second window for the heart card because I do want to pop this up on the front of my A2 card, and I just did that with some dry glue tape, and you could also do this with the liquid glue, it doesn't really matter. I use my chisel pen to adhere all my little floral pieces together, including the leaves. Some of the flowers I put 1 leaf on, some I put 2, and I did pop them all up on just some really thin foam, just a 1mm foam circle, just to give it just that little bit of dimension within my negative space circle. Once I'd spent a few minutes enjoying some music and putting my flowers together, I did do a rough heart on my card front and adhered all of my little flowers so that they're going to be under the window. Of course, I didn't assemble as many as I needed, but I cut more than I needed, so I did fix the number that's required in the design space so you don't actually have to cut out extra like I did. I added my negative space window heart, popped up on some fun foam, as well as my little sentiment in the center of my flowers. And now it's time to get onto our final card, and we're going to stencil. Okay, so it's time to make my final card now, and this one's going to be really clean and simple, and I want to make my own rectangle stencil. I want mine to be the size of an A2 card front. That didn't work. That wasn't a 13.9. That looks much better. And I'm just going to copy this. So go into Edit and click on Copy, go back into Edit, and then I can paste it. So basically I'm just using this square here in the background as a guide that just tells me what the finished size of my card front's going to be. And to make my rectangle, I'm just going to drag my other rectangle in until I'm kind of happy with the size that it looks on my card here. The other way that you can size this, if you're happy to, is just to type the numbers in at the top for the finished size that you want. I'm going to hide my A2 panel because that was really just a guide for me. I don't want that to be cut. And I can do that by clicking on the eye icon over here and then Make It. So like I said, this is going to be a stencil, so I do need to move the image over. You can actually do any shape that you want. I just thought a rectangle always looks really nice on a card front, and it's something that I can keep and use. So I do need to move that over so I can cut it out of the stencil material, and that will just give me a bit of a buffer so I can ink blend. The next thing to do is to hit continue down the bottom here. Alright, so to choose the material that I want to cut, I actually have my favorites saved. You can tell they are because they've got little gold stars, and that just means when I open this page up they'll be there ready to use. And I've got the stencil film, so I'm just going to click on that and I'll load my stencil product from Cricut onto my standard mat and get it ready to cut. I need to add a sentiment to this card, and I'll start by just choosing some text. I'll do it in capitals, with love. Oops, let me move one of them, make it a bit easier for us to see. Haley sentiment, that's really pretty. I'll do in Dear John. And I'll do that as a writing sentiment. And I'll size these. I was kind of feeling maybe about adding a label. Let me have a little look and see what's available, which one I like better. I'll arrange it by sending it to the back, but for me I like the plain edge. Alright, so I'll delete that one and I will attach these together so that they actually happen together, and I'm going to hide these because I don't want to have to deal with those mats when I go to make it. So I couldn't believe how easily this stencil vinyl cut. It just was perfect. It comes on a whole roll, so I can't wait to try different sizes. And I want to blend kind of an ombre background with it. Probably the hardest thing was laying it flat on my panel of cardstock here. But it wasn't that difficult to center. I have just grabbed a blending brush and some really pretty colors here to kind of coordinate with the other colors that I've used today. And because this stencil vinyl isn't too thick, I found that the edges of my rectangle were just so crisp and beautiful. It peeled away without ripping any of the cardstock, and I did actually keep it so that I can use it again. I just stored it on the backing paper that it came with. How pretty is that? I cut a couple of silhouette style flowers from the Cricut design space. This is a set of 3 and they're almost like a watercolory shape. I thought they work as a beautiful silhouette, and I've just adhered them directly to my card front and then popped up my sentiment. This is one of those card styles that could be used for any occasion. I think it would make a great sympathy card, even a birthday card, or just a gift card, or thinking of you. So thanks so much for joining me here today. I hope you enjoyed today's cards and saw just how easy it is to use the Design Space program with the Cricut machine. I have linked everything in the description below, and otherwise head to my blog post and you'll find the links there as well. I'd love you to come by and say good day, or leave a comment down below and let me know which your favourite card is from today's 3 floral designs. There are also lots of fantastic free YouTube videos giving wonderful information and inspiration on how to use the product as well. This maker will cut hundreds of different kinds of materials, literally hundreds. The list is massive, but I just decided to stick with the paper crafting side of things because that's what I know and love, but I can't wait to try out some other products. The vinyls look awesome. If you've met me before, you already know that I'm on a foiling kick at the moment, and I did notice that the Maker has a foiling blade that's an attachment that you can foil with, so that's something I think I'm going to have to try. Also, they've got scoring blades and engrave. You can even engrave with it, so I think I'm going to have to increase my repertoire outside the paper crafting field. I just want to say thank you to Cricut for reaching out to me. I have had a blast playing with this machine. It is so sleek and stylish, and mine's the champagne colour, just in case you're wondering. If you did like today's video, please click on the thumbs up button, and if you're not subscribed here, why not? Click on the subscribe button and the bell icon and you will get notification at my next video, and I look forward to seeing you there. Till next time, happy paper crafting. Bye.